Hello my fellow hunters, in this video I want to talk about the EOT. This is an abbreviation made by myself and it's like a raw versus elemental comparison, and it shows the thresholds when the element axis or the element or power elemental files out damage the raw meta weapons. So the thing is, I can also do this for other weapons, but I am not interested where I can get the attention on other weapons. So I basically just need the best combos, and then you can easily calculate the element overtake threshold. So this is not very hard to calculate. You just need the base combos and just, use some common raw hit zones with 0 and 30 elemental hit zone value, because they are static and they no have a percentage increase. The elemental hit zones have a linear damage increase, so it isn't that hard to compare them. The only bad thing is I excluded previously was the jump from the 10% buff from the elemental exploit you gain on the hit zone when it comes from 19 to 20. So there is currently no function, or I didn't know the function from Google spreadsheet when you have two different numbers on the same x-axis number to get that jump. So if anyone knows this, you can tell me in the comments down below, and I'm gonna update this for the element exploit. But currently it doesn't really has an influence to the results, and that is why I'm not using this. Maybe you just know my morph MHR morph episode 43, and I did this previously for the base vanilla stats. You can see this video, and I didn't know, okay, this 8 months ago, and you got 2,500 views. So maybe this video which I'm showing now only get about 800, 900 views, but I'm still gonna make it. It'll take some time. And this is the stats from the vanilla 3.0 compilation, and I separated this for cycle DPS and for the aerial switch X. So I separated aerial and grounded playstyle because they have different overtake thresholds. Now you can see here for grounded playstyle, the overtake thresholds are a lot lower. Like you can see for the Aura or Narva, it's only 5 or 8. And yes, for aerial switch checks, it goes up to 15. So that's the reason why grounded playstyle scales better with element. And I have used previously an online website, which is a German website called diagrammeerstellen.de, but this website shut it down, so I can't use this webpage anymore because it doesn't exist anymore and the domain was removed. So I have changed back to use this with the Google Sheets calculator, and it's a little bit more messy and not as good as from the website, which unfortunately has shut down meanwhile. So yes, also you can see here linear stuff, and you can see when which switch X out damage the other neuron. It was in vanilla more easily because we have the charge, elemental file meta. Now in Sunbreak also the power files with the new EBC counter are very competitive, and that's why I'm also made an updation for this. So this is the element overtake threshold result table. First of all, it is very complicated on maybe mobile smartphones, PC or other stuff. So I just recommend to use, if you want to click on the lines, the spreadsheet version. So you can click on the line, and at the right you can see which switch X it is. You can click on this line. It is Voidbringer X, and on these lines are Wengefu, Serialas, Phantasm. Yes, and I matched the element color with these lines here, so you can see the Thunder switch axis are yellow, so you can very easily say, okay, this is Thunderclap, this is Sinogre. And I also made it that the more lighter colors are the elemental files and the more darker ones are the power files. So you can see this is very dark red, so it is the Hyrubillion Rathalos switch X, and this is a little bit light red, so it is the volcanic switch. So it's more easy to difference between the elemental and power files. But I still had made a summary which is shown here. First of all, I want to show you how I calculated all this stuff. On every matchup I use the base skills, attack boost 7, wax 3, critical boost 3, burst 3 and elemental attack 5. I also included poison and blast with my new blast calculator. Also, I needed power charm, power talons, and also switcher deco. I previously explained on my spreadsheet here that symbol means it is updated now, and I wrote an article here that it does a little bit less DPS, but is a great quality of life improvement, and you should use switcher tool on every build. So you can put all switch axes with a level 1 rampage like the Lucentna Gakuga switch axe in the trash can, and I just recommend to use minimum level 2 rampage deco switch axes to get that switcher tool, but it's kind of wasted because we have extra rampage. Not a lot of weapons have weapon own deco, only Gunlance has a level 3 deco its own, and also switch axe. So there are not a lot of weapons, but yes, switch axe has its switcher tool, and I think it's kind of wasted if you didn't use the switcher tool, and it's such a great quality of life improvement. Maybe when the morph health is a little bit less, I still got, like I explained here, in some hunts better times when using the switcher deco. So you should always aim for switcher deco, and that's also the reason why I have here also the stuff aimed for switcher deco, highest priority, then element, then attack. Let's go. Depending on the file type. So every build has included a switcher deco, okay? So maybe the setup will be kind of different if you don't use a switcher deco, but I think you should aim for the switcher deco, because yeah, if you also go for current playstyle, which is better with element. Here you can see the list of all the switch axes. I also included some very bad switch axes, like the Split Your Rise is a very bad switch axe, and I don't really recommend it. I know there are still some players use it, but it's mathematically not really competitive, and also never used in any speedruns. The Split Your Rise was never used in a single speedrun ever. And yes, I also included the Eisenherz, but Eisenherz isn't really competitive. The Ibushi switch axe is stronger than Eisenherz, but I just added it for fun because some people still like to use Eisenherz. And it also has a German weapon name, so that's also another reason why I included it here. And yes, I summed up all these all these lines here. First of all, I give you a short explanation how this exactly works. So first of all, a very easy example for Skyfall Grinder. Skyfall from Ibushi switch axe has very high raw. You can maybe also use it as raw switch axe. You can see here the orange line, which is the Vengul Valkyrie from Scorn Magnamolo, and you can see here it overlaps the Kemi baseline at 1 elemental hit zone. That means if the elemental hit zone is 1 or higher, it already out damaged the Kemi SA, and if the elemental hit zone is higher than 6, the Skyfall Grinder already outdamaged the Scorn Magnamalo switch axe. Because it has Grinder S, I calculated a 75% uptime for Grinder S, because yes, you also need 30 seconds to lose your sharpness from purple until it goes into into blue again, and so that's very realistic values here. So I think it's maybe better than it. Skyfall Grinder can maybe be better than general Vengul Valkyrie, depends on the monster's hit zones. And maybe just do it for one example. I think I should use the yellow, the Thunder element, because these lines are very easy to recognize, and you can see here at this point the lines overlap. And you can see this is a much lighter yellow, so this is the Narva switch X baseline, and this is the Sinogre damage line. You can see here, for example, Sinogre out damaged the Scorned Magnamalo switch X at an elemental hit zone value of about 11, but that's currently not very interesting for us. It shows just that, yes, if the elemental hit zone is minimum 11, it makes sense to use elemental over raw. That's also showed here from 12 to 20. So that means if the elemental hit zone value is at least 12, elemental is stronger than raw. And you can see all these values starts at about 9, 11, 12. So in general, you can say if the monster's elemental hit zone value is lower than 12, raw is more useful. That also depends on the element, like you can see here. But if you want to make a general conclusion, you can say if the elemental raw general average is lower than 12, it's more useful to use just Scorned Magnamalo switch X. Yes, and now continue with the thunder axis, like you can see here. This one is the Narva switch X. I can click double on it and you can see here thunderclap, and then I can choose the oppressors torrent. So it also got highlighted. It is this one, and you can see here exactly here these two overlaps, and this is a 20 hit zone value. That means if the monster's hit zone value is at least 20 or higher, you should use the thunderclap, like you can see here. So you can see how much elemental the switch axes are. The fire axes are by far the best elemental axis. You can see here there are at the very left where there is the overlap with the Scorn Magna Malus switch axe, so they are very, very strong elemental weapons, even more stronger than dual blades, because you began using dual blades if the elemental hit zone value is at least I think 18 or 19, and for switch axe it starts with 6 or 9. So that's the reason why switch axe is the most elemental weapon of all weapons currently, and even more elemental than the dual blades. And I also gonna show you why split ear, why the Lagombi switch axe is not recommended in my meta builds. I know there are some other YouTube channels that recommend the Lagombi switch axe, but I now gonna show you that it isn't really competitive. Okay, so just check the spreadsheet here. So we have this line. This is the Lagombi line, and you can see it is the how would I explain it? It is the, I don't know what the English word is. The English word is the slope. Okay, the slope is very high. That means it is not very versatile. If the slope is very low, like for Ibushi, it is a very versatile weapon. But yes, it has one of the highest slopes between the Narva X, so it doesn't mean very versatile. And we also have the Auras Ajnajnijna, or how it's called. I think it should be this line. Yes, you can see here the Auras Ajnajna. And yes, it outdamaged raw at about 11 elemental hit zone. So also, yes, very easy elemental matchup. And it outdamage, split ear wise outdamage the Auras Shana here, like you can see at this point. And this point is a 30 elemental hit zone value. And currently there isn't really a monster that has a consistent 30 ice elemental hit zone value, and that's the reason why split ear wise is not competitive. There is not a single matchup of all monsters where split ear wise is stronger than the Auras Ajniha. Okay, that's the reason why they have such a late overlap. It is the latest overlap of all weapons. Like you can see here already, the monopole of the elemental vial for volcanic switch, monopole at 15, monopole at about 70, 18. And now we also come to another interesting point. You can see if a monster has some example fire and thunder weakness, you can see what's better. So there's a very popular example. It is like go for Daimon Minator, uninvited guest quest. So let's pick that quest. So the complicated thing for this matchup is a lot of people are confused why we're switch X users using Daimon Minator the fire over thunder. And the thing is, for head it is 30, but for thunder it's 35. But the fire axes are stronger, and that's the reason. Unfortunately, my calculator only goes up to 30 because 35 is kind of unrealistic. And maybe we can make a comparison. As you can see, 30 and 35. So let's maybe make a comparison and just compare 25 fire with 30 thunder. Okay. So we go to the calculator. So you can see, go for 25 hit zone, okay? For 25. 25 fire is 575 DPS, okay? And let's compare it to about 30 Thunder. You can see it is about the same DPS. Okay, you can see here the elemental hit zone of 25 fire. Switch X does the same damage for Thunder and 4.5 more elemental hit zone. Okay, so that's pretty much the same at the end of the day. But another reason is now that the Volcanic Switch already has a level 3 Rampage slot, and the Narva Switch X doesn't have a level 3 Rampage slot, so you can't use LM Bane on the Switch X, okay? And that's the reason you have to upgrade the Rampage slot to level 2, so you lose a lot of elemental damage. That's the reason why in this case Volcanic Switch is stronger than Narva, even if the elemental hit zone value from the other element is higher. So I think that's understandable. Yes, at the end of the day, you can see all the matchups. Like you can see here on the Thunderclap, I've used 4 slots for the Rampage slot upgrade, and I think I also used for Till Update 3 the Switcher True recommendation, and that I think that for the compilation starts table you should look at. For my personal usage, I never really used the Hyrule Billion because the most monsters are very weak to Fire Element, has very high Thunder, like the crabs, like I currently explained, or Great Baggy has 40 Fire Elemental hit zone value, and in this case Hyrule Billion isn't really that competitive. Yes, and that are just a combination of the hit zone thresholds, whether you can use Elemental Switch X over Raw and Elemental Fires over Power Fires. So you can see at a certain point there is always a situation where the Elemental Fires out-damage the Power Fires. Okay, there is no Power Fire that can out-damage Elemental Fire like the 40 Elemental hit zone or so. Yes, please also keep in mind all the calculation was based on average hit zones. Maybe later, if you're interested, I made a separate video for speedrunners hit zones. That means I'm using just a hit zone of 65 raw, and this makes the Power Files more useful, and I'm currently not sure whether I should use this because even speedrunners so like you can see maybe in my speedruns, they not every time 100% hit the highest weak zone. There are also maybe about 20 up to 30% of the time they are hitting very bad hit zones. So currently I'm not sure whether I can release a second episode, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Please write in the comment section down below whether I should also make that for other weapons, or you just want to know it for Switch X. Yeah, thanks for watching, see you next time.